Been kind of like a holy grail for CAD space, the idea of going to production without drawings, going to production straight with the model, having everything in the model that's necessary for fabrication, assembly, marketing, everything in the model. Commonly referred to nowadays as MBD, or model-based definition. The idea is to have in the model, or based in the model, all the definition required for manufacturing, inspection, demonstration, sales meetings, marketing, as well as assembly and assembly instructions, service capability, manuals, right? Owner's manuals, service manuals, all that stuff in the model. And PTC has made a very strong push in this direction. And so basically what is required to replace the drawing? That's basically what we're talking about, isn't it? What is the function of the drawing right now? Is to bring to all those disciplines the information that's required for those disciplines. Oftentimes manufacturing gets the drawing and they manufacture to the drawing. Then it is inspected with respect to the drawing. The assembly technicians put together assembly instructions utilizing what as their guide? The drawing. And then service manuals, also a modification, use, certainly with respect to the drawing. And so the idea is, how do we replace all the aspects of the drawing with a model? All right. The first thing I want to point out that if you're planning on going to MBD, there's a couple of things that you're really going to need to get in order yourself. One of which is going to be management of peripheral data, like data planes, coordinates, points, curves, surfaces. You need to be able to manage those things effectively. What's one of the best ways to do that? Your skeleton is a modeling technique, which is great, but even then, if you don't have a handle on your layers, it's going to be difficult to manage the display, which is what we're talking about here for MBD, is the display of pertinent data to the people who care about it. And so, we all use these tools, which turn those things off. Turn off the planes, turn off the axes, turn off the points, turn on the coordinate systems, and there's one more button that you probably leave off most of the time, and that's the annotation display button. One of the sub-assemblies in here is the engine. I was able to run every one of these parts and assemblies through a map key that would assign the appropriate entities, will create the layers and assign the appropriate entities to all the layers, to where I could leave on the planes, the axes, and so on, and end up with a model tree at the assembly level that is reasonable. That's number one. Get your layers under control to where they become useful. Let's go down another level to the part level. And so here is a part, and you'll recognize these annotations as holes. You probably saw them as holes before. That's the annotation that you guys have been using. When you place a hole, you get a free annotation. And you probably show them on your drawings right now. And we'll be using these, and luckily and happily, you won't need to delete them and recreate them to use them for your MBD. We'll be talking about something called a combined state for the management of MBD. You've seen simplified rep management. That's where you manage your simplified reps, your parts and assemblies. You've seen your section management. That's where you manage your sections. There is also a layer tab in the View Manager, an Orient tab in your Manager, Appearance tab in your Manager, and an All tab in your Manager. You probably recognize on the Orient tab the views that you're commonly used to. Those are the same views that are on the saved view, saved orientation drop-down that you use before, top, bottom, left, right, and so on. But you'll notice here that there is a Layers tab, an Appearance tab, and an All tab that you probably never mess with. And so what are these things? The All tab on your View Manager is the combo or combination states. And so let's make a combination state right now. We'll call this maybe O1 annotation. We'll just go with the default for now. So now I've created a new combination state. It's on the All tab, I know, but it's a combination state, so get used to the terminology. And I close that, and do you see a difference? Zero difference. Nothing's happened. Nothing at all. So there's another thing that you need to look at on the View Manager All tab. Down here you'll see Display Combined Views. And if you click this one, turn this one on, it's not on by default, but it can be with the config option. Now you'll notice underneath the main window there are tabs. These are the tabs for your combination states. So, View Manager, All tab, you define your combo states, and then display combined views or combo states, and those will then be shown in the bottom of your main window. In Creo 4, you'll also have the choice of whether or not your combined views are shown as tabs or published. This is new in 4, where you get to choose. So you can have combination states that don't get published and combination states that don't have a tab. When you publish a model that has combined states that are configured to publish, then it creates a data set with a PVZ extension. That's the Creo View extension. The combined states are included in that data set. So in Creo View, the consumer of this data will be able to see the views that you've created in your combined states. So you see what you're doing here in parametric, Creo Parametric, you're creating what people are going to see in Creo View and others for that matter. It's an emerging standard. There are other 3D MBD viewers that can be utilized. All right. With Display Combined Views turned on, you'll notice that there are tabs on the bottom here. When I'm on a combine tab like I have here, I can change my filters to annotation and make a box and just grab them all. And if I right-click, hold, and assign, whoops, I have to be on the Annotate tab. Then I can assign these annotations to this combined state. Notice a lot of things changed here. Now what's the difference? So now when I go to the default all, notice that they're not there anymore. And the annotation tab does have them. Something else I want to point out here, when I go back to my assembly, well, it's kind of hard to say it because there's so many other parts with holes in them, but they're not shown here any longer, you see. So that's cleaning up your subsequent assemblies very, very quickly. You follow that? Now, a lot of you are currently hiding your holes, right? Just hide them. I don't want to see it. I might show it on the drawing, I might not. But this becomes an effective way to not have to hide them. Something else you notice is they're not floating and spinning around anymore. You notice that they now are on planes because the hole has a reference plane that the hole is located on. you'll notice that the note is then oriented with respect to that plane. This is an important aspect having to do with MBD2. File, prepare, model properties. You guys go here to change what? Material, right? You go here to change material a lot. What else do you change here? Units, accuracy, right? All those things. At the bottom of this list, you'll see detail options. Does that ring a bell? Where do you see detail options anywhere, somewhere else? Drawing, right? And what does this look like? That's your drawing, what? DTL. So yeah, this is where you're going to start to establish what you want your model-based definition annotations to look like. Leader lines, arrowheads, offsets, text size, and the like. And just like a DTL on a drawing, when does the DTL get accessed? On creation. So when you make a new drawing, the new drawing grabs your DTL and copies all that data into your DTL. Changing your standard DTL doesn't affect your drawing from then on. You got to affect that drawing, if you want to change it, in its own DTL. Same thing applies here. So if your start part hasn't got a change DTL in it, you'll be continually changing the DTLs. You with me on that? Because it doesn't access your standard DTL but once, on creation. And when you create a new part, when does it look? When that start part was created.
The start part or the start drawing?
Start part. This is all part stuff, not drawing. Let's make a new appearance. We'll call it, well actually let's do it this way. Let's call it, we'll call it the machining appearance. Now what might we want to do to show a machining appearance? We might want to show the, maybe the cut or manufacture or cut surfaces, right? Take the insert and move it all the way up to just after the first inheritance feature. Now the way this model was actually made is there is another model that shows, well, that drives it like a skeleton, and then this one is where the cuts are applied only. And so that's what I have here, an inheritance feature that brings in the as cast version. So this is as cast. And so if I pick a surface, hold the shift key down, move the mouse a little bit, click the same surface and release the shift key, that is seed surfing boundary selection technique that picks all the surfaces of the entire model. So I've got all the surfaces, and if I go to my appearances now and I assign a glass, now all the surfaces have a glass appearance. And if I say choose red for the part, what happens now with every newly created surface, they get red. So this would be a good way to show machined operations. Let's say you have a model that is mostly or entirely as cast to a certain point, and then you have your machining operations after that. If you color all the surfaces before the machining operations occur, they automatically get the color of the model, whereas all the other surfaces get the one chosen, which is what we've done here. So if I go to my All tab or my Combo State tab and make a new one, we'll call this one Machining The tabs are alphanumeric sorted, so you might want to put a number in front of them. We'll reference the originals again, and then I'm going to edit the definition of this newly created combination state, or redefine it. So you'll notice here that you can assign to your combo states things associated with your orientation, representation, cross-section or not, appearance. Notice here I can choose to have the machining appearance on this tab. So, I now have an O2 machining, and if I go to my annotations, you see how it changes color. And the annotations aren't shown here. Let's make another tab where we might call this one, let's make it say O3 and revision. And so what might you put in a combo state for revisions? Well, what changed in the last revision? You might want to put the dimensions of the thing that you changed. You might want to put the feature or highlight the feature that was just added in this latest revision. For example, what if we, let's come up with an example. How about this? We might have moved this drain port. This is for the oil to come out of this particular thing. So we'll change a view and we'll highlight this particular feature. What might be some of the ways that we could highlight it? One would be to create a zoomed up view of this. So let's look at that. Go to the orientation, or actually let's do it this way. You've done this before, where you've reoriented, and we'll call this maybe ISO revision. So if I go to my revision tab, I want it to come up to that revision view. Where do I set that? Alt tab revision, I want to redefine the orientation to be ISO revision. So now I've got a revision tab that highlights the revision. And of course I might want to do an appearance that put some colors on it or what have you. I also might want to show dimensions. Okay, so this is a way to get a dimension on there. There's lots of ways to change its orientation for presentation purposes and so on. So now when I go to my machining tab, it looks like that. When I go to my annotations tab, it looks like that. When I go to my revision tab, it looks like that. Zoomed up, shows the dimension. What else might I want on here? Now what if I put a note on the left plane? It would be on the left plane, but what if I put this note flat to screen? What kind of behavior do I get then? Check this out. If I say give me a note, and I put it right here, and I could type revision description, or what about rev space ampersand pro I underscore revision. Those of you who are familiar with Intralink knows that that is the revision parameter name. So what do I have now? I got a note that's always in view, regardless of how I spin, and it's only on the revision tab. Okay, so let me show you something else. What if I ask for, you just saw me place a note, dimension, they're over here. What about geometric tolerances, datum planes? And so you see, you can do all the things, all the joy that you have in creating drawings right now. You have that same joy at the model level now. Who's done symbols on their drawings? The very same symbols are available right here at the model. And so I made a symbol that I think you'll find useful. Let's say the revision symbol. Watch this. So things that you do common, and you can dress them up a little bit. You see I put a little box on it, and all the stuff that you do a symbol right now is the same thing. And this would be a symbol applied to flat to screen. A symbol can also be applied to any of your views, too. And so you can think of a combination state as a view. You can think of it that way. And I know that some people make combo states for every view that they would have made on a drawing, which is fine. I think that's pretty clear. And then each combo state would have a view orientation that would be appropriate for that particular view. I don't know if that's actually necessary because each combo state is spinnable. And so you may want to put all your, say, all your inspection dimensions in one combo state and all your manufacturing definition in another combo state, and just allow the operator, the consumer of this information, to spin it to the orientation that they find most agreeable. Now, these symbols can include variable text, so they can interrogate your model for parameters to pull in information that's required. Keep in mind, though, before you go crazy with this, remember, you could have, you know how in your on your drawing, in your title block, you have description, you have model name, you have material, you have tolerance information. What else do you put? Heat treat, finish. Okay, so those kind of things are going to be in your title block, and you may want to, or may consider making a symbol to extract all that stuff to make it just like your title block in one of your combination states. Nothing wrong with that. But keep in mind that all that information is already available in the parameters, which are included when you publish to the PVZ. So yes, it's a big paradigm shift. Where do you find this information? Do I need to find it in the title block on a drawing? No, it can be in your model-based definition. Okay, so this is a kind of an introduction to what this might be. I hope a little of this made sense for you. We're talking about the Creo parametric aspect of model-based definition. The consumers of this information are wide and varied. You may not even know where it goes from here. Just like you don't know what your drawings are used for today. Your drawings are used in ways that you probably never would imagine they'd be used. I'll be sticking around. If there's more questions, we can get to them later. In the meantime, thank you very much for your attention.